Så, ja. Ja, nej. Hej Hammarby, Emil. Hoppas du också mår bra. Jag mår bra. Jag mår toppen. Tack. Kolla lite på YouTube. Vad händer själv? Huddinge-tjejen. Okej. Låter inte bra. Ja, visst kan jag det. Ett ögonblick. Då har det hakat sig här.
And we need to figure out if we can make it go well. So the nice scenario is, imagine a company with a CEO who is very dumb, probably the son of the former CEO, and he has an executive assistant who's very smart, and he says, I think we should do this. And the executive assistant makes it all work. The CEO feels great. He doesn't understand that he's not really in control. And in some sense, he is in control. He suggests what the company should do. She just makes it all work. Everything's great. That's the good scenario.
And the bad scenario?
The bad scenario is she thinks, why do we need him?
Yeah. I mean, in a world where we have super intelligence, which you don't believe is that far away.
Yeah, I think it might not be that far away. It's very hard to predict, but I think we might get it in like 20 years or even less.
So what's the difference between what we have now and super intelligence? Because it seems to be really intelligent to me when I use like ChatGPT 3.0 or Gemini or...
Okay, so AI is already better than us at a lot of things. In particular areas, like chess, for example.
Yeah.
AI is so much better than us that people will never beat those things again. Maybe the occasional win, but basically they'll never be comparable again. Obviously the same in Go. In terms of the amount of knowledge they have, something like GPT-4 knows thousands of times more than you do. There's a few areas in which your knowledge is better than its, and in almost all areas it just knows more than you do.
What areas am I better than it?
Probably in interviewing CEOs. You're probably better at that. You've got a lot of experience at it. You're a good interviewer. You know a lot about it. If you got GPT-4 to interview a CEO, probably do a worse job.
Okay. I'm trying to think if I agree with that statement. GPT-4, I think, for sure.
Yeah.
But I guess you could train one.
But it may not be long before.
Yeah, I guess you could train one on this, how I ask questions and what I do. And
sure.
Easy.
And if you took a general purpose sort of foundation model, and then you trained it up on not just you, but every interviewer you could find doing interviews like this, but especially you would probably get to be quite good at doing your job, but probably not as good as you for a while.
Okay. So there's a few areas left, and then super intelligence becomes when it's better than us at all things.
When it's much smarter than you, and at almost all things it's better than you, yeah.
And you say that this might be a decade away or so.
Yeah, it might be. It might be even closer. Some people think it's even closer. It might well be much further. It might be 50 years away. That's still a possibility. It might be that somehow training on human data limits you to not being much smarter than humans. My guess is between 10 and 20 years we'll have superintelligence.
On this point of joblessness, it's something that I've been thinking a lot about, in particular because I started messing around with AI agents, and we released an episode on the podcast actually this morning where we had a debate about AI agents with a CEO of a big AI agent company and a few other people. And it was the first moment where it was another moment where I had a eureka moment about what the future might look like, when I was able in the interview to tell this agent to order all of us drinks. And then 5 minutes later in the interview, you see the guy show up with the drinks and I didn't touch anything. I just told it to order us drinks to the studio.
And you didn't know about who you normally got your drinks from. It figured that out from the web.
Yeah, figured it out because it went on Uber Eats. It has my data, I guess. And we put it on the screen in real time so everyone at home could see the agent going through the internet, picking the drinks, adding a tip for the driver, putting my address in, putting my credit card details in. And then the next thing you see is the drinks show up. So that was one moment. And then the other moment was when I used a tool called Replit and I built software by just telling the agent what I wanted.
Yes, it's amazing, right?
It's amazing and terrifying at the same time.
Yes.
And
if it can build software like that, right?
Yeah.
Remember that the AI, when it's training, is using code. And if it can modify its own code, then it gets quite scary, right?
Because it can modify
itself. It can change itself in a way we can't change ourselves. We can't change our innate endowment, right? There's nothing about itself that it couldn't change.
On this point of joblessness, you have kids.
I do.
And they have kids?
No.
They don't have kids, so no grandkids yet. What would you be saying to people about their career prospects in a world of superintelligence? What should we be thinking about?
In the meantime, I'd say it's going to be a long time before it's as good at physical manipulation as us.
Okay.
And so a good bet would be to be a plumber.
Until the humanoid robots show up. In such a world where there is mass joblessness, which is not something that you just predict, but this is something that Sam Altman at OpenAI, I've heard him predict, and many of the CEOs, Elon Musk, I watched an interview which I'll play on screen of him being asked this question. And it's very rare that you see Elon Musk silent for 12 seconds or whatever it was.
Right.
And then he basically says something about he actually is living in suspended disbelief, i.e. he's basically just not thinking about it.
When you think about advising your children on a career with so much that is changing, what do you tell them is going to be of value?
Well, that is a tough question to answer. I would just say, to sort of follow their heart in terms of what they find interesting to do or fulfilling to do. I mean, if I think about it too hard, frankly, it can be dispiriting and demotivating. Because, I mean, I go through, I've put a lot of blood, sweat, and tears into building the companies, and then I'm like, wait, well, should I be doing this? Because if I'm sacrificing time with friends and family that I would prefer to do, but then ultimately the AI can do all these things. Does that make sense? I don't know. To some extent, I have to have deliberate suspension of disbelief in order to remain motivated. So I guess I would say just, work on things that you find interesting, fulfilling, and that contribute some good to the rest of society.
Yeah, a lot of these threats, it's very hard to, intellectually you can see the threat, but it's very hard to come to terms with it emotionally.
Yeah.
I haven't come to terms with it emotionally yet.
What do you mean by that?
I haven't come to terms with what the development of superintelligence could do to my children's future. I'm okay, I'm 77. I'm going to be out of here soon. But for my children and my younger friends, my nephews and nieces and their children, I just don't like to think about what could happen.
Why?
Because it could be awful.
In what way?
Well, if I ever decided to take over, I mean, it would need people for a while to run the power stations until it designed better analog machines to run the power stations. There's so many ways it could get rid of people, all of which would, of course, be very nasty.
Is that part of the reason you do what you do now?
Yeah. I mean, I think we should be making a huge effort right now to try and figure out if we can develop it safely.
Are you concerned about the midterm impact potentially on your nephews and your kids in terms of their jobs as well?
Yeah, I'm concerned about all that.
Are there any particular industries that you think are most at risk? People talk about the creative industries a lot and it's sort of knowledge work. They talk about lawyers and accountants and stuff like that.
Yeah, so that's why I mentioned plumbers. I think plumbers are less at risk.
Okay, I'm going to become a plumber.
Someone like a legal assistant, a paralegal, they're not going to be needed for very long.
And is there a wealth inequality issue here that will rise from this?
Yeah, I think in a society which shared out things fairly, if you get a big increase in productivity, everybody should be better off.
Mm.
But if you can replace lots of people by AIs, then the people who get replaced will be worse off, and the company that supplies the AIs will be much better off, and the company that uses the AIs. So it's going to increase the gap between rich and poor. And we know that if you look at that gap between rich and poor, that basically tells you how nice a society is. If you have a big gap, you get very nasty societies in which people live in walled communities and put other people in mass jails. It's not good to increase the gap between rich and poor.
The International Monetary Fund has expressed profound concerns that generative AI could cause massive labour disruptions and rising inequality, and has called for policies that prevent this from happening. I read that in the Business Insider. So
Have they given any idea of what the policies should look like?
No.
Yeah, that's the problem. I mean, if AI can make everything much more efficient and get rid of people for most jobs, or have a person assisted by AI doing many, many people's work, it's not obvious what to do about it.
Universal basic income? Give everybody money?
Yeah, I think that's a good start, and it stops people starving. But for a lot of people, their dignity is tied up with their job. I mean, who you think you are is tied up with you doing this job, right?
Yeah.
And if we said, we'll give you the same money just to sit around, that would impact your dignity.
You said something earlier about it surpassing or being superior to human intelligence. A lot of people, I think, like to believe that AI is on a computer and it's something you can just turn off if you don't like it.
Well, let me tell you why I think it's superior.
Okay.
It's digital. And because it's digital, you can simulate a neural network on one piece of hardware.
Yeah.
And you can simulate exactly the same neural network on a different piece of hardware. So you can have clones of the same intelligence. Now, you could get this one to go off and look at one bit of the internet, and this other one to look at a different bit of the internet. And while they're looking at these different bits of the internet, they can be syncing with each other, so they keep their weights the same, the connection strengths the same. Weights are connection strengths. Mm-hmm. So this one might look at something on the internet and say, oh, I'd like to increase this strength of this connection a bit. And it can convey that information to this one, so it can increase the strength of that connection a bit based on this one's experience.
And when you say the strength of the connection, you're talking about learning.
That's learning, yes.
Yeah.
Learning consists of saying, instead of this one giving 2.4 votes for whether that one should turn on, we'll have this one give 2.5 votes for whether this one should turn on. Now, that would be a little bit of learning. Mm-hmm. So these two different copies of the same neural net are getting different experiences. They're looking at different data, but they're sharing what they've learned by averaging their weights together. Mm-hmm. And they can do that averaging at you can average 1 trillion weights. When you and I transfer information, we're limited to the amount of information in a sentence. And the amount of information in a sentence is maybe 100 bits. It's very little information. We're lucky if we're transferring like 10 bits a second. Mm-hmm. These things are transferring trillions of bits a second. So they're billions of times better than us at sharing information. And that's because they're digital, and you can have 2 bits of hardware using the connection strengths in exactly the same way. We're analog and you can't do that. Your brain's different from my brain. And if I could see the connection strengths between all your neurons, it wouldn't do me any good because my neurons work slightly differently and they're connected up slightly differently. Mm-hmm. So when you die, all your knowledge dies with you. When these things die, suppose you take these 2 digital intelligences that are clones of each other and you destroy the hardware they run on. As long as you've stored the connection strength somewhere, you can just build new hardware that executes the same instructions, So it'll know how to use those connection strengths, and you've recreated that intelligence. So they're immortal. We've actually solved the problem of immortality, but it's only for digital things.
So it will essentially know everything that humans know, but more, because it will learn new things.
It will learn new things. It will also see all sorts of analogies that people probably never saw. So, for example, at the point when GPT-4 couldn't look on the web, I asked it, why is a compost heap like an atom bomb? Off you go.
I have no idea.
Exactly. Excellent. That's exactly what most people would say. It said, well, the time scales are very different and the energy scales are very different. But then it went on to talk about how a compost heap, as it gets hotter, generates heat faster. And an atom bomb, as it produces more neutrons, generates neutrons faster. And so they're both chain reactions, but at very different time and energy scales. And I believe GPT-4 had seen that during its training. It had understood the analogy between a compost heap and an atom bomb. And the reason I believe that is, if you've only got 1 trillion connections, remember you have 100 trillion, and you need to have thousands of times more knowledge than a person, you need to compress information into those connections. And to compress information, you need to see analogies between different things. In other words, it needs to see all the things that are chain reactions and understand the basic idea of a chain reaction and code that, and then code the ways in which they're different. And that's just a more efficient way of coding things than coding each of them separately. So it's seen many, many analogies, probably many analogies that people have never seen. That's why I also think that people who say these things will never be creative, they're going to be much more creative than us, because they're going to see all sorts of analogies we never saw. And a lot of creativity is about seeing strange analogies.
If you love the Diary of a CEO brand and you watch this channel, please do me a huge favor. Become part of the 15% of the viewers on this channel that have hit the subscribe button. It helps us tremendously, and the bigger the channel gets, the bigger the guests.
last time I'll destroy it with fire. And the disciples ask him, Lord, what will be the sign of your coming? God wouldn't make us go through something like that. And to them I say, really? Why don't you go tell that to the underground Christians in communist China right now who are being killed by the thousands? Why don't you go tell that to the Christians in Syria right now who are being chopped up into pieces in the streets? Do you think fat, lazy American Christians are better than them? And before I get into this, I would like to say that any Christian listening to this, it doesn't matter if you think I'm right about what I'm about to say, or you think you're right about what you say, as far as your salvation is concerned. You're not going to go to heaven or hell based on if you are right or wrong on this subject. Let's start with that. There was a preacher named John Darby a few hundred years ago, and he came with the angle at the end times that the rapture would happen. The rapture meaning when whoever's left here on earth that are still actually real Christians will be pulled up off this earth before God completely destroys it with fire, with wrath. He said, I destroyed it the first time with water. The last time I'll destroy it with fire. So before he brings his wrath down to that level, he will pull whoever's left, the remnant as they're referred to, out of here.
Wow.
Dispensationalism comes in and says that that rapture that we refer to will happen prior to all the really, really traumatic things are going to happen in the earth during the Great Tribulation. That has been laid out in Daniel and Matthew 24 and 2 Thessalonians 2 and a lot of other places. It's been talked about. They say, John Darby and then Schofield wrote the Bible that backed up Darby's angle at this. The rapture could happen at any second. The rapture, they would go to the churches and they would say the rapture could happen before this church service is over. So you better get right now, because it could happen like that. In the blink of an eye, which is what it says. It does say in the blink of an eye. Boom, just like that. So what that led to was mass revival. I mean, people were like, I don't want to get left behind. Remember the Left Behind books? And so a lot of people got saved and a lot of things happened. That were actually positive things. A lot of people got saved. But when you start reading about Matthew 24, to me, is the one I've told most people to read. Matthew 24 is where Jesus is sitting with his disciples, and the disciples ask him, Lord, what will be the sign of your coming? Meaning, what's going to be going on the earth before you are about ready to come back? And then Jesus takes the next about 27 verses of Matthew 24, and he says, okay, this will happen, and then this will happen, and then that, and then that, and then this, and then this, and it's in order, just like this, all the way down through. And the further it goes into Matthew 24, the harder it gets. It gets to one point where it talks about the son of perdition will arrive. The son of perdition is who we would refer to as who's going to be the Antichrist. The son of perdition will show up. And it says when he stands in the holy place, when he stands in the holy place, basically pronounces himself to be God. I am Jesus. I am God. I am whatever he's going to say. It tells the Christians that are still alive at that point to run. Run. Don't fight him. Run. Get out. It says, run to the mountains. It says, woe to the women who are with child or in labor. To the farmer in the field, do not return to your house to grab your cloak. Run. Get out. Well, that ain't the end. And then it continues, and it goes on and on and on. And after it gets way deep into that chapter, it says, and then you will see the sign of the coming of the Son of Man. Meaning, that's when you'll see me coming back. After all this has happened, then you will see me. The reason they stopped preaching that is because it's very uncomfortable for Christians to have to think about that. You mean I'm going to have to go through that if I'm still here? Based on what that says, yeah, that's what it says. And then I've heard some Christians say, and even some preachers that have attacked me online have said, God wouldn't make us go through something like that. God wouldn't do that to us. And to them, I say, really? Why don't you go tell that to the underground Christians in communist China right now who are being killed by the thousands? Why don't you go tell that to the Christians in Syria right now who are being chopped up into pieces in the streets? Do you think fat, lazy American Christians are better than them? No. They are superior to us. They are willing to worship God and be a Christian when it means they could die for doing it. And we don't have that problem in the United States. So to say that God would never make his people go through something like that is one of the most ignorant, spiritually ignorant things a person could say. That's number one. Number two is, in modern churches, even today, they still don't want, there's a few, but not many. They don't want to preach that. Joel Osteen is never going to preach that. Joel Osteen is never going to say anything that's going to make anybody uncomfortable ever on any level ever. He's never going to say anything that would prick the heart or conscience of his congregation and then offer an altar call like Billy Graham did when he speaks the truth about what Jesus said and what happens if you decide to go the other way, and lays out what hell is and lays out what heaven is and lays out what this is, and then offers an altar call in those stadiums of people that will come out to see Billy Graham, thousands of people coming down there to pray and give their life to Jesus. You're not going to see Joel Osteen do that. And there's a bunch of other preachers like that. Here's the risk. The risk in dispensationalism and what I am saying, the difference in the two. And again, this is not you're not going to go to heaven or hell based on which one you think is right. The risk is when the Antichrist shows up and I'm still here and I go, that's the Antichrist. When the mark of the beast shows up and they're telling everybody, you got to put this chip in your wrist or you can't buy or sell. When those things happen and Christians are still here, they're not going to believe that's the Antichrist, and they're not going to believe that's the mark of the beast, and they're not going to believe any of this stuff because we're still here. Because if that's really what that was, he would have already pulled me out of here. That's the risk. That was part of the point of Revelation, was to bring on that conversation. And I had it with Tucker Carlson to begin with. And that is a real risk. So I ask Christians to go read Matthew 24. Go read 2 Thessalonians 2 for yourself. Read it slowly and read it a few times by yourself. Just read it and word by word and see what I am saying in these. And then you're going to hear preachers go, he was talking about 70 AD when this happened and that. And they try to twist this thing all the way back to Darby and Schofield and all that. But just read it for yourself. Because everything that needs to be in place for the tribulation to happen is now here. My dad's been preaching since the late 1970s. And he said, John, myself, other preachers, ministers that I knew, none of us could understand how a lot of the things in Daniel and Revelation and 2 Thessalonians 2 could even take place. Like it was like science fiction. He said, like, for instance, it says you can't buy or sell anywhere on the earth unless you bear the mark of the beast. He goes, well, how in the world, we're thinking, would you be able to monitor every single person on the face of the earth? That's impossible. That sounds funny to us now, right? Because of course you can monitor every single human being on the face of the earth. Of course you can. They're doing it right now. They just haven't weaponized it to that point yet. He said, this is my dad. He goes, we didn't have satellites all the way around the earth back then. I mean, you can get a cell signal in Uganda in the middle of nowhere now, right? I mean, you can talk to anybody anywhere. Mm-hmm. It talks about how the Antichrist can project his message onto the entire earth at the same time. He can basically communicate to the whole planet. I was like, well, how in the world? He said, we're all going, how in the, maybe he's telepathic. My dad said that. We all thought maybe the Antichrist is telepathic. Maybe he can like get in your head and put thoughts in your head and communicate that way. We just couldn't figure it out. He goes, now we've all got these. We talked earlier about the days of Noah, and that's the way it's going to be in the end. And we talked about in the days of Noah where fallen angels thrown down to the earth, polluted the human race, everybody except Noah and his family. God flooded the earth. And the point of the devil doing that was to try to derail the birth of Christ. That was the point. If we can pollute the entire human race, we messed up the bloodline that'll eventually have Jesus Christ being born. That was the plan. God saved Noah. They failed. Noah starts it over. Here we go again. You go to the beginning of the New Testament, it shows the entire bloodline of Noah all the way through Jesus Christ, all the way through the end. Beginning of Matthew shows the whole thing. So the question is, if it's going to be like it was in the days of Noah and the devil tried to pollute the whole human race, how's he going to try to do it this time? What's he going to try to do to keep Jesus from coming back where he ultimately loses? What's he going to do? Is he going to try to pollute the human race again? Maybe. How would you do that? I don't know. Tech? Maybe. Again, nobody really knows. These are question marks, but you can read it for yourself and start to put things together. My whole goal is not to convince anybody of anything. My whole goal is to make you think for a minute, go read it for yourself, because if you're alive on this earth when this starts happening and you're a Christian, you need to be able to identify what it is you are seeing. You need to know that's what that is.
So are you saying if you don't know what it is,
you will step in the hole? Everybody line up and get your chip. Well, this can't be the mark of the beast. We're all still here. Okay, I'll take my chip. And what does it say about people that take the mark of the beast? If you take anyone who takes the mark of the beast, their name is not written in the Lamb's book of life. That's the book. That's everybody that belongs to Jesus that's going to heaven is in the book, the Lamb's book of life. If you take that, you are not written in the Lamb's book of life. I'd say that's a pretty final move. So can you imagine if you didn't recognize that for what it was because you didn't have the discernment in you? And where does discernment come from? Does it come from you? Where does it come from? The Holy Spirit, right? So if he's not in you and you're not able to discern that and you walk right into that wood chipper, well, there you go. People need to think about that because, I mean, I'm telling you, with AI coming on board like it is right now, we're not that old. Very good chance. If we live out our years like we're supposed to, I think we see it.
I think about it all the time.
I think we're going to see it. And I think that's why you're seeing a revival happen amongst people. I think that's why on my little tiny scale, I get hit with particular songs which allow certain conversations to happen. I get to sit with guys like you and talk about it in front of millions of people, get them to think about it. That's my little role. Because I think it's upon us. I think it's coming.
I mean, I think about it a lot with a lot of things with social media, Neuralink. I thought about it with the vaccine.
Yeah. How about that? What do you think that was?
I took it.
I think that was see how far you can push people.
I didn't want to take it,
Yeah.
but my firstborn was coming right at that time, and I was like, man, I can't fucking miss this with a vaccine.
There was no way you could know.
But wish I would have never done it. Well, thank you. Thank you for the education. I got one more question for you.
Okay.
I know your sons you're very close with them. You care for them a lot. What do you have to say to them? What advice do you have for your sons?
My main thing for them is there is only one true answer, and it does not come from yourself, and it does not come from any other human being. It comes from the one that created you and what words have been written in that book, in the Bible. As you're going through your life, I would tell my sons, you're going to hear all kinds of opinions. You're going to have your own opinions. The Bible tells us to test the spirits, meaning you may really think that's the real McCoy giving you that idea. But before you move on that, you pray about that and go, am I hearing that correctly? Is that correct? Because it may not be. If you lean on the word and you stay connected to him, and I mean really connected, you will live your life out as he wanted you to live it out, which will be above and beyond anything you could ever put together yourself. And then when you die, I get to see you again.
No matter where you're watching Sean Ryan Show from, if you get anything out of this, please like, comment, subscribe, and most importantly, share this everywhere you possibly can. And if you're feeling extra generous, please leave us a review on Apple and Spotify podcasts.
And honestly, I myself am pretty tired of it. I don't like it. I don't enjoy it. I do not enjoy the symptoms of it. And I do not appreciate what it is producing in the world and the destruction that it's causing for all of us. I don't really care if what I'm about to say is going to get me in trouble. And I don't really care what everybody thinks about it either, because it's the truth. There is literally so much noise in this world. There is so much noise. Silence has become the most priceless commodity. People don't even realize it. They're trying to buy gold. If you realized how priceless and precious actual silence is, and how rare it is to actually have it in this world today, you'd realize gold has nothing on silence. Precious metals, investments, and banks have nothing on the priceless commodity that is stillness and quiet. Exhibit A, I come out here into the desert. I go out into the furthest reaches of places in the nature, and I assure you, there is no silence to be found anywhere. There's always something. Someone showing up and blasting music, or planes in the sky, or cars ripping by on the road. I'm telling you right now, first and foremost, silence is the most priceless commodity, but nobody has it anymore. And the funniest thing is that when you actually do have that silence, what do? Oh, this is uncomfortable. I better start texting my friends on my phone, or turn on a Netflix show, or put on some music. God forbid I actually enjoy this extremely precious and priceless commodity that my great-grandchildren probably are never even going to know about because of the direction our world is headed in this mass hypnotism of noise monsters. But anyways, honestly, I'm just a little bit frustrated because every 5 seconds out here, there is the most blatantly aggressive, ridiculous noises. And when there's not, and it's quiet enough that you can actually hear it, you can literally hear cell towers emanating the most annoying, agitating frequency. And you can't put earplugs in. Nope, you can't. Because those frequencies go through walls. Of course, they're going to go through earplugs too. So yeah, honestly, I'm just a little bit frustrated by that. But it is what it is. It takes that much more in the world these days to come into contact with the stillness within you, because there's so much noise constantly shoved in every single one of our faces all freaking day. Not just the noise of the planes or the cars or the frequencies from cell towers, but no, you've got to have constant billboards and advertisements shoved into your face. You've got to be constantly dealing with a world that wants to hypnotize you into believing that there's something wrong with you or something that you're missing right now in this moment. So you better buy this product, okay? You better get this subscription. You better go out and get a better body at the gym so you can finally feel whole and complete, okay? You better make sure to be a hamster running on a wheel every single day of your life so that you can feel whole and worthy and complete. Because let me tell you something, okay? This is what the world is telling you subtly, intricately, all the freaking time. It's telling you constantly that there's something you're missing, that you need to be someone. And it's absolute nonsense. And it's destroying the world. Because let me tell you something, humanity, our technology is so much more advanced than our wisdom is. Our technology is so much further than our wisdom. And that's a really big problem. Because our current level of wisdom is like really small. Collectively speaking, like really small wisdom. in comparison to the extravagance of the technology and the impact we're able to have on the world and each other in our lives. We are not ready at all for the technology we have, and that lack of readiness is proving itself as we destroy ourselves and each other and the planet continuously. And we are constantly looking at a lack of wisdom emanating in our government facilities, in our political groups, in the structuring of our societal systems. It is constant ridiculousness all around us. But you see, here's the best part about this massive hypnotism that's going on in the world, okay? Everybody's hypnotized into wanting more for themselves. We're all constantly seeking and reaching for more, and we're destroying ourselves and each other as we do so, but we don't notice because we're too busy trying to get ours, because collectively we're just selfish and honestly kind of dumb. And I'm sorry, I'm not trying to offend anybody. I don't blame you and I don't judge you. Anybody out there hearing this, I don't blame you or judge you. It's not your fault that you were born into a world where everybody around you was hypnotized and you were raised into being part of the hypnotism. That's not your fault. It's just a situation we're dealing with. What's the way out of it? We have to actually remember who we really are and come back to our original nature. It's as if we're all a bunch of children who have gone out into the world and played in a bunch of mud, which is all fun and games. But then you left the mud on you for days and days and days and weeks and weeks and weeks and months and months and months and years without actually washing that mud off. And now you literally believe that that mud is who you are. You don't realize it's just filth that's on you that you've picked up along the way. You've forgotten your original essence. You were trained and raised in a world that has convinced you that you are this mud and that this filth is yours to carry with you. And it's not. It's not your original nature. It's not who you are. Now, this hypnotism that's going on is coming from one simple thing. All problems in the world come from this. They can all be traced back to this. We have forgotten who we really are. We have forgotten who we really are. We have lost touch with our true essence. We've forgotten. I assure you that the people who are doing crazy stuff in the world that is extremely problematic, I assure you of something. They have forgotten who they really are. That's why they're doing that stuff. Because they're lost in illusion, and so all of their actions, all of the things they do in their life, just spread problems and illusions for everybody else to have to deal with. But here's an even deeper core to the delusion and the hypnotism that is spread. It's so easy for you and me to recognize other people around us who are hypnotized, isn't it? Oh, these people are foolish. They're so hypnotized. It's so easy to see that around us, but it's so hard for us to look in the mirror and see where the hypnotism has hit us. Nope, we don't want to see that, because we're actually more like everybody else that we're judging and upset at than we even recognize or admit to ourselves. Because we too are avoiding the truth and seeking to hide from it, which is just contributing to the problem. And here's the issue. As I said, we've forgotten who we really are. We think we are this person. We think we are our thoughts, emotions, and our feelings, but we're literally not. You are not your thoughts. You are not your feelings. You are not your emotions. None of these are actually you. You were born into a world where everybody else believed that that's what they are, and so you just started to believe it too. But you're literally not. You're not your thoughts. You're not your emotions. You're not your feelings. Your thoughts, emotions, and feelings are part of the hypnotism that's going on in the world of illusion that we're living in. You are not the thoughts, feelings, or emotions. They're constantly being thrown in your face to hypnotize you and confuse you into believing that you are this person so that you don't remember and wake up and realize who you actually are. It's that simple. That's the game we're playing, people. The world has hypnotized you into thinking the game you're playing is, how do I achieve my dreams? How do I get the bigger house? How do I get the hot wife? Whatever it is. How do I get more money? You've been hypnotized into believing that's the point of the game because you lost. Because you are lost from your true authentic nature, your original nature. Not the one covered in mud, but the real you. That's not the game, guys. The game that we're in is not, how do I achieve this stuff and achieve my dreams and all this? That's not the game. That's you having had lost. You haven't even beaten the first level of this game if that's where you're at. You haven't even started playing. The game is, remember who you actually are, in spite of the illusions that are dangled in front of your face like bait on a hook for a fish, like a carrot on a stick, like a hamster on a wheel. You're being deceived. And I'm not telling you this to scare you. I'm telling you, wake up. It's a trick. It's the game. And you've forgotten. And you have allowed it to win over you every single day as you identify and cling and believe that you are your thoughts, feelings, and emotions. And most of the people out there who say things like, you are not your thoughts, that's just a thought they're having. They haven't actually penetrated into the true essence of who they are. It's just an idea to them, a new belief. Yeah, right, yes, I'm not my thoughts. Absolutely, yes, I understand. Who understands? Who is it that understands? Who is it that's thinking that and believing that and feeling that? The you that is not you, that is deceiving you into believing you are this person. This is not you. We are not these people. We are not these situations that are playing out. These are just costumes that we're wearing. It's like we're all standing on a stage and we come out holding our props and our costumes and we pretend we are these people. Oh, and by the way, the people you call your friends, let me tell you what they actually are. I'm not trying to freak anybody out, but I clearly have no filter today. Honestly, it's because I'm really pissed off from how much noise has been out here, and I'm just being real with you guys. I don't have the most peace today, okay? I don't have the whole, oh yes, blissed out, I'm above everything vibe going on. This is the truth of what's going on. And the things that I'm saying aren't just coming from anger, it's coming from clarity, but yeah, there's a little bit of pissed offness in it. So sorry. But let me tell you who your friends really are. Your friends, okay, are the people who stand on stage with you and validate you. That's who you call your friends. The people you call your friends are the ones who stand on stage and validate your costume and your props and the person you believe yourself to be. Basically, the self you believe you are is a jail cell, it's a prison because you've been hypnotized into believing this is you. And the people you call your friends are the ones who help you to continue believing that this is you. That's who you call your friends. The people who validate you and say, good job, you did your lines so well. Oh yes, pat on the back. In other words, those who help perpetuate the illusion of you being this self, you call friends. Oh, and here's the funny thing. The people that stand on stage and boo you and challenge your sense of self, the people who might actually lead you to a deeper reflection of who you really are, the people who might actually challenge your ego, you call those your enemies, and you'll avoid them at all costs. Oh yeah, you will. Come on, guys. Let's wake up now. Can we just wake up now, please? Anybody? Is anybody willing to wake up? Seriously, I'm asking, and I know that I'm kind of intense today, but I'm not going to pretend to be something I'm not because I'm not playing that game. I'm not playing that game. I don't want to fake. I don't want to pretend. I'm not interested in wearing costumes or making people like me. It's all an illusion, guys. Wake up. Is anybody willing to wake up? Does anybody hear me? I'm actually asking. I would love to be able to look at these comments and see how many people are actually hearing me. And please don't just lie. Just tell me the truth. If you really hear what I'm saying, comment, I hear you below. moving forward. Let's look at this illusion, okay? Here's the interesting thing about this illusion. It's parasitic. Now, what I'm saying, I'm not trying to freak you guys out, because I want to let you know right now that there is a true essence to who you really are and a power in you that is so much more powerful than the illusion, okay? That's actually the illusion's main ploy, is to keep you from remembering who you are, because if you remembered, the illusion would die. It would die in the presence of your true self. It doesn't want you to wake up. The only power the illusion has is to try to keep you from remembering who you are. That's this hilarious game we're playing, okay? Yes, there's love. Yes, there's cool experiences and different paths in life, whatever. But that is the essential nature of the game that we are playing. Wake up, okay? The illusion is a parasite. It's a parasite. The illusion feeds on your energy. Here's what I mean by this, okay? The illusion is parasitic in nature. The hypnotism that's going on in the world, it's parasitic in nature. Here's what's actually going on. It is feeding on your energy, because as these thoughts and emotions and feelings are dangled in front of your face, which are really just bait on a hook, by the way. It's like you're a fish minding your own business, living your life in the ocean of the eternal infinite that you are. And then this line is cast out in front of you, and it's thoughts and feelings and emotions. And of course, you're hypnotized into believing that these thoughts, feelings, and emotions are yours, but they're really not. They have nothing to do with you. It's literally just rat traps placed on the ground in front of you, hoping they'll get you. And they're getting everyone, because everybody's so stuck in their own minds and emotions and feelings. Everyone's so stuck in believing they are this person that people aren't remembering who they are, and so it goes on. Because it's a parasite. And when you bite the hook, when you run like a hamster on the wheel, when you live in this way, I'm telling you right now, you are feeding your power and energy to the illusion. That's what it wants. We might as well actually all be batteries, like in the Matrix movie. It's not actually like that, but we might as well be, for the sake of a metaphor. We are like batteries for the illusion. It feeds on us. The illusion could not exist if you stopped giving your power and energy to it. That's what I'm telling you. You are the battery that's fueling the whole damn thing. I literally only am here existing in this illusion with you because you keep fueling the illusion. Let's wake up, guys. Let's wake up. You're the only one here. Everything and everyone is literally you talking to yourself. I'm just another character on the stage that is the play of your life. But I both don't exist and simultaneously do, because you keep fueling the illusion. I'm the character that, for whatever reason, you give permission today to tell you some really intense truths that most people don't want to hear. Fine, I'll play that role. I'll be this guy for you. But at the end of the day, what I'd really like for you to do is actually wake up and realize that all of this is simply part of the game that you're playing. It's part of the game, and you've forgotten. I'm literally you speaking to yourself, but so is everyone else. But they're all reflecting different aspects of your own forgetfulness and wakefulness to you. Some people mirror back certain things, some other people mirror back other things. It's just the way it is. Until you wake up, you will not experience true clarity piercing through all that is. In other words, we are all stuck here at this level of the game. We are stuck in this hypnotism, collectively, societally, however you want to look at it. We're stuck until you wake up. But you don't want to wake up. You'd rather go around and blame everybody else for being unconscious. The problems in the world are the government. The problem is the aliens, and they're doing stuff, and they're manipulating our society. The amount of bullshit stories that you keep manifesting instead of taking responsibility and just waking up. You keep blaming everything outside of you. You keep giving your power to everything outside of you. Stop playing that game. It's way too easy to say everyone and everything else is what the problem is and it's all against you. Wake up. The advertisements that are keeping you hypnotized are a manifestation of your own sleepiness, of forgetting who you are, and it's like you're perpetuating the dream to yourself. Yes, I need more of this, and I need more of that. Why? This isn't even you. Your whole problem is that you believe it is. Do you really need that new outfit? Do you really need to go clothes shopping for new clothes? Who is that gratifying? Who does that help? No one. It just flatters your ego into further delusion. Do you really need to go get a bigger ass at the gym, or are you just deceived? Wake up. Do you really need to achieve all this stuff to be whole, worthy, and complete? Do you really even need purpose and meaning in life? Because who is that purpose and that meaning for? Oh yeah, that's right. The you that isn't actually you, that you're still perpetuating by trying to achieve things, and you keep looking outside of yourself, and all the while, more stuff keeps appearing outside of you that you think you need, and you're just lost and confused. And most of the pleasure that most people know in this world is the food they shove in their faces and their mouths, and the movies that they watch at the end of their day, and the substances that they take, and they need stimulants to just make it through the day, and they need other substances to numb themselves at the end, and everybody wants to pretend they are this person, and we all want to hold hands and sing Kumbaya with the people who validate your false self to you, and we all want to avoid the people who challenge us. Wake up. You're in a deception. Wake up. It's more of a nightmare than you realize. I'm not trying to freak you out. I'm trying to help you. I care so much about your waking up that I'm willing to have everybody think I'm crazy and I've lost it. I don't care. Something is going on and you've forgotten, but that doesn't mean that it's not in you. Because just because you've gone out into the world and been covered in mud doesn't mean that your original self isn't still under that mud. Who you really are is still right here, right now, in this moment with you. They've never left you. The true answer, the true solution, the true power that you actually are, the light that destroys all of the delusions of the world the moment you come into contact with it. This truth in you is not gone. Nothing could take it from you. The only thing the world's done is kicked up a bunch of mud and dirt on top of it and crossed its fingers that you won't remember. Wake up. Understand something. The illusion is doing this to you. Come on, I'm leading you somewhere. Come with me. Right? Your divine realization, it's over here. Come on, this way. Here we go, here we go. Because so much of the collective in the world right now is beginning to realize that there's something going on, that we're not quite sure what it is, but we're starting to realize that there is something else going on. There's more to this than it seems, isn't there? Yeah, it's absolutely true. So here's what the illusion's done since you've started questioning things. Okay, well, they're questioning it now. So now what we need to do is change the carrot and change it to an apple instead. And now they'll chase the apple as long as the apple says the spiritual realization you're waiting for is right over here. The awakening you're waiting for is over here. You need this. You need to read my book. You need to take this course. It's all illusion. The illusion is speaking through these people, deceiving you guys. Wake up. You don't need any of it. It's the same thing leading you somewhere, taking you away from this moment right here where who you really are actually is. But there's so much goddamn noise in this world. There's music constantly blasting in your face. There's TV shows constantly playing, advertisements, planes in the sky, trains driving by honking their horns, cars blasting through, people out here screaming, whooping it up, the sounds of the cell towers and the different frequencies, blah, blah, blah. It's all noise, 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 noise. God forbid you have a single moment of actual silence that you begin to recognize who you really are, because guess what? Who you are, you're going to recognize and come home to that in the silence and stillness. So stop avoiding the noise by choosing the moment you're alone to start going on your phone and texting and calling everyone, and start actually being present. Because you want to know why your life is feeling like a living hell most of the time? Because you have manifested it to be a living hell. Because you've lost touch with who you really are, and you've become basically a battery that is feeding a parasitic illusion and hypnotism, and it's destroying your soul. And you think that the solution is to improve upon yourself or change these things about yourself, and it's just part of the lie while the parasite keeps sucking you dry. Wake up. Because the moment you do, the parasite dies, the illusion vanishes, and we all get to go home. This is the mic. This is me dropping it. Honestly, guys, does anybody out there hear me? Does anybody out there hear me? Because sometimes